After much deliberation over the last week or two, I have finally found a saw to replace my Hitachi C18DL 18V cordless circular saw, and that's the Makita DHS680 Brushless 18V cordless circular saw. Now what I was deliberating over was whether to replace it with this model or the 36 volt model, which uses two 18V batteries. After weighing up the pros and cons, I decided to go for the 18 volt over the 36 for the following reasons. It's smaller and easier to get into certain areas. It's lighter. That's probably the biggest concern. Can't cut quite as deep, but it's like 57 millimeters for this model compared to 68, I think it is, for the 36. Well, there's not much timber between those two ranges that you need to cut anyway. If it's going to be bigger, I want it to cut 75, not 68. So, being a brushless motor, whereas the 36 volt is brushed, this 18 volt one has 50% more power apparently than the other 18 volt Makita models. So in the end, based on power, battery life and just overall size and weight, I went with this model. So I'll just show you how heavy it is on the scales here. So that's measuring at 2,777 grams, so 2.78 kgs basically. That's without the battery. I'll just throw on my old Hitachi here, which has served me well, but it's getting a little bit tired. As you can see, not much has changed. All the things that Makita say to make it lightweight with their magnesium base and case and blah blah blah, and it's actually fractionally heavier than this old Hitachi. This Hitachi model came out a long time ago, well over 5 years ago, pretty close to 10 years ago. Just measure the batteries now. Makita battery, it's a 4 amp battery, weighs 643 grams. Hitachi 3 amp battery is the only one they made for this particular line of tools. The very first lithium ion batteries around. 703 grams, so a little bit heavier on the battery. So when they're both put together, they're very similar in weight, almost identical. So let's have a look at the features of this tool. It is, as I said, brushless, so there's no carbon brushes to replace, no wearing out and the heat and friction that brushes cause, wasting power. This motor here and this tool is brushed, but you can't get to the brushes. They're built into the motor and you can't buy the replacement brushes, and when they crap out you've got to replace the whole motor, which I have done once on that tool, but it's just not worth doing anymore price wise. So the Makita here feels good. There's not a lot of room in this area, your hand. I mean, I haven't got a very big hand at all, but I imagine some builders would have a bit of trouble holding that. This old Hitachi to me actually feels more comfortable. Now this tool comes with the blade. This is the DHS680Z, so it's just the skin. I didn't buy it with the batteries or anything else, it's just the tool. Because of course I already have the batteries. Now, let's have a look at the features of this tool. It will run on most Makita batteries right up to the new 6 amp batteries. It has the star, of course, like all new Makita tools do. So it's got protection with the star on the battery, so that the tool and the battery are protected from overloading, sort of thing. Now on the tool here, this battery doesn't have a fuel gauge on it, but the tool thankfully does. Why Makita choose to have a 3-bar light on some of the tools, 1 bar on other tools, and 4 bars on the batteries beyond me, but anyway. For some reason this thing wiggles around a lot. Isn't the greatest look, but anyway. So if you pull the trigger, you'll see 3 lights light up, battery's fully charged. This here has a green light in it. So this tool controls torque. If you're really driving hard through some thick timber, this torque light will come on, the speed setting will change, torque setting will change, and that's just a light to let you know that that's happening. I don't know why it really needs a light, but anyway. But it's a handy feature that the torque changes as you drive through heavier timber. Very handy indeed. On the front here, rafter hook. Not something I'd use that often, to be honest. Fine circular saws are actually pretty easy to plonk down because they have a big flat base on them, so you can just sit them on just about anything. You can sit them on top of a wall or whatever, top of your ladder. But it's there. Has LEDs in the front here to light up your cut line, which is always handy. This old model here did have a lamp for doing that. It's long since blown and I have replaced it. The LED lights are a bit better, of course, and use a little less power. Now let's have a look at the construction of this thing. Magnesium, magnesium, magnesium. So instead of having a plastic guard like this old clunker, not that I had any problem with the plastic guard, to be honest. It hasn't broken or anything, so it's done well. I've never really dropped this tool or damaged it too much or anything. It has had a lot of use though. The base on this seems a bit more, well, it looks a bit nicer and a bit sturdier than this metal steel option here, which, as you can see, it's all rusty and horrible and not very good for cutting over nice surfaces. Does of course come with that, which of course goes in there, so you've got a guide for ripping timber. Personally, I hate these things. I find them close to useless. They bend and you can never get a straight line with one of these. Of course the Makita one has one at the front, one at the back here for going along rail systems. I think I might get another one of these and make my own sort of more sturdy guide. We'll see. So blade guard, magnesium, plastic handle there. This is where your dust will come out. You can buy a little attachment there to hook onto a dust extractor or vacuum cleaner. It screws in that little hole there. I haven't bought that because I don't think I'll ever hook it up to a dust extractor, to be honest. Not the sort of thing I'm going to be using it for. I'll be out in the bush and out in the wild using this, so no need for a dust extraction. Hook, as I've shown you. Bevel on the front here. Notice as you bevel it, pushes the guide up automatically. So it's got a set bevel here at 45 degrees. This little stop here. If you flick that up, you can get a few more degrees out of it and get it up to 50. A little bit clunky feeling that. The depth. Usual standard. On the back here they've got the tool Allen key for undoing the blade, so it's handy, it's always on the tool ready to go, don't have to hunt around for it like I always have to do with the Hitachi one. Hopefully that stays in there, it's not super tight in there. I end up working loose and I'll end up losing it in the bush somewhere. So she's a pretty nice looking saw. My biggest concern is, my biggest want is just that the brushless motor gives it plenty of grunt, because the Hitachi just doesn't have enough guts really. One problem I've noticed already with this tool, before I even used it, is there's the play in this base, which doesn't go away with any tightening of anything on there so far. Looks to me like I'll need to undo this, move this clip here, tighten this in so that this shaft here gets a bit tighter against that. There may also be a problem right at the base there. There is screws in the base, so maybe I ought to just tighten that up a bit, because it's going to annoy me. Right, let's see what it sounds like. So it's got a safety switch on here, like all mini saws do. Very quick brake on it. You can see the light there. While it's, yeah, every time you pull the trigger, your indicator on the battery will pop up there. This is of course a 6.5 inch saw, 165mm. And that blade's rotating at 5,000 RPM, so it's 5,000 RPM no load speed, which is much improved from this Hitachi, which is 3,400. So I'm now going to put this new Makita to the test against this old Hitachi. It's not really a comparison test, I just want to see how much better these new brushless tools are compared to my old trusty Hitachi. So I'll just run it through its paces a little bit, just do a couple of cuts and just see how much different it feels. I'm not going to do a how many cuts I can get through battery life or anything like that. I just want to see how it feels, how quick I can do each cut on each saw. So I'll do each one with new saw blades and fully charged batteries so that it's as closer to a fair comparison as I can get. So I'll go do that now, eh? Okay, so this is the Hitachi C80DL 18V 3A battery. It's got a brand new Makita blade. This is the original generation of lithium ion tools from Hitachi, which is a pretty old saw. Let's see how it goes. Push it a bit harder this time. Right, not too bad. Let's check out the Makita. New blade. Now be aware when you're taking the blade on and off, that it's a reverse thread or left hand thread. So just keep that in mind when you go to take it off, that you don't turn it the wrong way, just keep tightening it more and more. So as you can see, instead of turning to the right clockwise like you'd normally do to tighten the bolt up, you've got to turn it to the left or anti-clockwise. when you are taking off or putting back on. So tighten up. Got a lever here that locks the blade, so you can get it tight enough. Back in there. Right, let's give her a whirl. See if I can get that torque limiter to come up, see how fast I can push this through. Green light did come on then. Halfway through the cut the green light comes on. Bloody hell, that's good. That shit's all over the Hitachi. But it is a much older tool, hasn't got the brushless technology. So, there we have it. I think I like it. So you've seen how the saw does through 4x2 or 100x50 timber. I'm now going to cut through some hardwood. This is Vitex decking, it's 140mm by 20mm. I'm just going to do a few cuts in that just to see how it goes through that. I'm not going to set the blades to the correct depth, I'm going to have them at their full depth so it puts more pressure on the saw just to see how they perform. And there's a slightly older blade on the Hitachi, but hasn't done too much work. Let's see how we go. So you can hear that struggling a little bit. Too bad. Not very quick. Let's see how the Makita goes. Wow! I like barely even felt any resistance on that at all. It just went for it. That was pretty impressive. Yep, that's a nice saw. I'll now put the blue blade on that I just used on the Hitachi and see how well it does with a slightly more blunt blade. So with the blades swapped over, new Makita blade on the Hitachi saw, an old Makita Blue Mac blade on the Makita, I'll run the test again. The onboard tool holder on the Makita has already come in handy though, because I've already misplaced the Hitachi one once while doing this, and it took me a while to find it the first time as well when I changed the blades, so that's proved to be handy. Anyway, let's do this test again. So there you have it. The Makita, even with the blunt blade, still did better than the Hitachi with the new blade. So overall, I think she's a keeper. It's a good little saw. I saw the torque light come on then while I was doing that cut there. But normally you wouldn't do a cut like that with the blade like that. You should have the blade set down so the teeth are just below the bit of timber there. That's how you should be cutting with it. In fact, I'll just do a quick cut like that. You would have heard about halfway through that the torque control kicked in, the green light came on, and I powered through that last bit. So there you have it. The Makita Brushless DHS680 18v lithium ion cordless saw, circular saw. Very nice little tool, and hopefully it will give me years of happy service. So there we have it. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks. See you next time. I'm just going to weigh these two batteries just to see if there's much difference between the 4 amp and the 5 amp Makita lithium ion tool batteries. So we'll go with the 4 amp first. As you can see, 645 grams. 5 amp, 615 grams. So 1 amp more powerful or longer lasting, yet 30 grams lighter. So good old technology, eh? So don't worry about higher amperage being heavier batteries, it's actually lighter. Who would have thought?